Poverty. It changed the human spirit. How did they break free? Government can't solve these problems, but people can. Escape from Poverty wants to help. Guiding people like Amy, who makes pralines.
I have a dream of not only having a candy store in Lafayette, but in the surrounding areas and eventually go international.
Families like Carol and Kelly.
I think I would like to someday become a chorus teacher.
One of my dreams is to become a teacher, a basketball coach, and a football coach.
Recovering addicts like Greg.
It's just amazing about life. You know, life, you never know what the day gonna bring. You never know what the day gonna bring. And you know, that's some of my goals. Some of my goals, long-term goals, is to help others, be of service to others, and to own my own business.
Single moms like Tyra.
I would like to eventually own my own business. In what? I don't know. I know I'll be helping people in some sort of way, but I want to eventually work for myself.
Anybody can help somebody out of poverty.
You can too.
The people in these classes are also starring in a reality TV show. Join us as we follow their journey from poverty to success.
Our dream is to make their dreams come true.
Escape from poverty.
Escape from poverty.
Escape from poverty.
Escape from poverty is transforming my life.
Transforming my life.
Transforming my life.
It's transforming my life.
This class is available in its entirety along with printed curriculum through our website. Contact us at escapefrompoverty.org or at 337-984-4858. Hello and welcome to the show of Escape from Poverty. Tonight our class is going to be a class on godly character, and it's going to be done in the form of a Bible study. In our class tonight we have Carol, Kelly, Tyra, Amy, and Greg. All are participants in this program who are on their way to escaping from poverty, and part of that process is developing character, which will help them find success in life. Here to teach our class tonight is John Newman. John Newman is pastor of New Hope Church here in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's a multicultural church. They run an inner city tutoring program, outreach in a recreational center, and it's a pretty amazing thing. John's been married for 20-something years and has 5 kids, and if anybody has developed character and can teach it, it would be my friend John Newman. So John, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, we'll continue our study with Joseph, and good to see you all here tonight. I'm glad you're all here.
Good to see you
and yeah, hopefully you all had a chance to look over Genesis 37 this week, and next week we'll look over chapter 39, but we're going to actually start looking at the life of Joseph. Last week we sort of talked about his family, and we talked about how family, our past and the past of our ancestors can impact us. We talked about generational sin, and we talked about dysfunction and patterns that in our families we have some good patterns that we can adopt, and they follow us, but sometimes there's some bad patterns that come along with us, and if we're not careful, we'll take those and adopt those into our lives and then bring those into our families. And we talked about that last time. And there were a couple of good patterns we talked about with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Those are Joseph's ancestors. They were obedient to God. All of them, they heard the voice of God, they followed God. That's pretty good. Do you remember what one of the other good character traits that they shared?
Work ethics.
What's that?
Work ethics.
Work ethic. Yeah, all of them they developed great herds, great crops. They were diligent workers, and they did a great job in developing a farm. So those are some really good traits, and they followed each generation. Abraham taught Isaac, Isaac taught Jacob, and Jacob taught Joseph. So they were really diligent with farming and good businessmen. And they had some bad character traits also, and they followed generationally. Abraham, great man of faith, but when push came to shove, there was a point in time where he lied about whether or not Sarah was his wife. And then his son Isaac did the same thing, and he lied about Rebekah being his wife. And then Jacob, he lied to his dad so he could steal a blessing away from his brother. So that this deception followed all of them. And one of the things that's going to sneak into our story today, another negative character trait, was favoritism. We see favoritism creeping in, and Jacob favors his son Joseph, and that becomes a part of the problem that we look at. So as we look at our lives, one of the things I asked you to think about for today was, were there some things in your family's past that you can see that they have brought positive things to your life, and you realize that this part of your life is actually because of your mom and dad or your grandparents, and you can see that carrying on. In my life, I could see that my folks were good, godly folks. And they took us to church, and we read the Bible around the kitchen table after dinner. And I think that had a big part to do with me being in ministry, is my parents' influence in making God a priority. And my sister is in ministry too. And I think that is part of my heritage. So that's something I'm thankful for. How about y'all? Is there anything you could think of that, some good stuff that, from your family's background?
I could say for me, one thing would be with my mom when she passed away years ago, but as a kid, watching, she always would pray, you know, around the house, or anoint the house, or go to church all the time, Sundays, Wednesdays, and things like that. So, and until this day, you know, those are things, you know, even though I need to work on going to church more, I still do. But you know, inside I still have the, you know, that prayer mentality, you know, and whatnot. So those are some, as far as that goes.
That's good, Carol. So, yeah. That's good. Anybody else have something they'd like to share? Greg?
Let's see. Well, I never got to know my grandparents on either side. I never knew any of my grandparents, but my mom, she was always a godly woman. She went to church with us when we was young, you know, and the Bible says, raise up a child in the way that he should go. Raise up a child right, and when he grows up, and you know that I departed from the faith and everything, but I knew where my help was, you know, and I thank my mom for showing us, you know, for showing us the right way, you know, that way.
Well, that's great. Yeah, and later on you might have strayed away,
right,
but eventually you remembered what you were taught, and you came back to those things you were taught. That's good. Those are good illustrations of how our past impacts our present positively. Our past can also impact us negatively. We can carry some baggage from our past. One of the things that negatively impacts who I am is my heritage is Dutch, so I'm going to blame it all on, you know, being Dutch. And so the Dutch are known for being opinionated, a little hard-headed, stubborn. And when we would go over to my grandmother's house, almost all the time there would be some kind of argument. We'd be arguing about politics or the Bible. Had to argue about something. And that became a part of my character. I always had to be right. And I was always looking for an argument. And that really negatively impacted my relationships with other people. And for me, the most important thing was being right. It was more important than maintaining a relationship. It was, I needed to be right. And that was something that I sort of learned, and I didn't realize it was wrong until much later. How about y'all? Was there anything that you could see in your past that man, this is something that I have to overcome?
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
Oh yeah, I inherited that really well.
So it's an art form. You got to do it right, and
yes.
So okay.
The right moment, the right time. Yes.
So good timing and all that stuff. Yeah, and that can really hurt your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt people's feelings. It sounds really funny, but yeah. So you've seen that and how that impacted your family.
Yes.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, now we're going to look at Joseph more directly. But there's two stories that I wanted to talk about Joseph's background that are going to impact the story a little bit. Because wherever we are in life, if we are stuck, there are two things we need to fight against. One is passivity, and one is pride. And what we see with Joseph's dad, Jacob, he was really passive. He just sort of let things go. And I used to work at my grandmother's farm during the summers, and would have to clean out the calf pens. I'd do the things my uncles didn't want to do, you know. And the first time I had to clean out a calf pen, I mean, that's nasty, you know. It smells bad. I didn't want to go in there. But by the end of the summer, I sort of got used to it. And one of the things we have to be careful of is if we have some bad behaviors, bad activities in our lives, if we're not careful, we can get used to it. It could smell, it could be bad, it could be hurting us, it could be hurting those around us, but we just start thinking that that's normal. And so Jacob, Joseph's dad, is very passive. And there's two stories I want to just share briefly. And in Genesis 34, if you want to turn there, I'll have somebody read verse 30 for us. But the story is that Jacob has 12 sons, but he also has some daughters. And his daughter was walking through the town, Dinah was her name. And there was a young man by the name of Shechem that saw her. And he was attracted to her. And what Shechem did was he forcibly raped her. Jacob finds out about this. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't confront the young man. He doesn't confront the young man's parents. He doesn't say anything. But then his sons find out. And what they do is they go into the town and they not only kill Shechem, they kill every man in the city. And read how Jacob handles that in Genesis 34:30. Who would like to read that?
I'll read it.
All right.
Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me by making me a stench to the Canaanites and the Perizzites, the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed."
What do you think about Jacob's response there? About what just happened to his daughter and what his sons just did?
It wasn't a very good response.
Why not?
Because he was more concerned about his household than his daughters, than his daughter being raped. You know?
Yeah, he's more concerned about his reputation and having peace. He just wants everything. You know, why do you guys have to mess things up? So he doesn't confront the issue at all. And he's upset when his sons go over the top in confronting it. So we see that he's very passive. The other story, now we think that these Bible characters, we think they're supposed to be perfect, you know. But when we read the stories, we realize, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in their lives. I mean, you got rape going on, and then you got these brothers, they wipe out a whole town. And not everybody raped their sister, but they killed everybody. I mean, they got mad, over the top mad. That isn't right. And Jacob, the worst he can say is, well, man, you're going to make people mad at us. You know, that was his response. But his oldest son, Reuben, sleeps with his stepmom, one of Jacob's wives. He sleeps with his stepmom. And that's in Genesis 35:22. No, it's not 35:22. I don't know if I'll be able to find it right at the moment.
It is.
Is it? Yeah, I can't find it at that. I wrote the verse down wrong. But basically the verse says, and Israel heard of it, and that's it. He heard that happened. He doesn't say anything to Reuben. Now, why would a person be passive like that? Why would Jacob not confront his son? Why would he not stand up for his daughter? What causes a person to be passive?
Low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem?
Or he's a coward.
You don't like confrontation. You don't like confrontation. I don't know.
Doesn't like confrontation? Okay.
And maybe he doesn't even see it as a problem. You know?
Yeah, this is normal.
Yeah.
We got a crazy family, and I guess, well, that's just how Reuben is. Okay. What would you hope that he would do? What would a good dad do?
Divorce his wife. Divorce his wife.
There'd be consequences.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're going to talk about this. This isn't right.
I don't think there'll be much talking.
Yeah. Yeah. But you see, what happens is if we have patterns in our life, we can't break them by passivity. Passivity is what keeps us there. I mean, by not confronting them, we allow all those things to go on around us. If we want to break those patterns, we have to break passivity. We have to stand up and say, wait a minute, whoa, this is wrong. This isn't going to go on anymore. This stops now. It takes energy to break old habits, to break old patterns. And for whatever reason, Jacob didn't have that.
I like to say Reuben also probably did that because he knew Jacob wouldn't do nothing anyway. So if he would have known, he would have stood up against all the other things that happened to him. He probably said, I ain't going to mess with him. But because of that, he went on and tested him.
He knew his dad was weak.
Yep.
There's going to be no consequences. That's good. That's real good. Well, now let's look at the story of Joseph, and we're going to see how those two stories impact his story. Somebody want to read verses 2, 3, and 4 of chapter 37.
Two, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
This is the account of Jacob. Joseph, a young man of 17, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the sons of Belial and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons, because he had been born to him in his old age. And he made a richly ornamented robe for him. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him.
Yeah, very good. So we talked about some of the dysfunctional patterns, one of them being favoritism, and here we see it right here. And the dad makes him a coat. And but before we get to the coat story, which is a famous part of Joseph, it talks about Joseph going out and shepherding with his brothers, and he brings a bad report. And the word, the bad report, it's almost always used of somebody making up a tale. He's tattling, he's telling something, and what he's telling isn't even true. And this word bad or an evil report, that's the same kind of evil report. Those are the same words that were used. I don't know if you remember when Moses sent some spies into Canaan to check it out. And the spies came back, 10 of them came back with a bad report. Oh, there's giants in the land. And it wasn't true. They exaggerated things. And that's the same kind of phrase that he's using here. So what Joseph is doing is he's making up stories about his brothers and getting his dad mad at his brothers. When I was at my grandmother's in the summers, sometimes my uncles, they would watch a TV show that I wasn't interested in. And so what I would do is I'd go to my grandma and say, Oma, my uncles, they're watching something bad on television. You know, and well, I did that because I wanted to watch Superman. You know, they're watching something I'm not interested in. So my uncles, they get sent to their room, and I get the couch and the TV all to myself. That's what Joseph is doing. Now, what does it tell you that Jacob doesn't catch on to this? He doesn't realize that Joseph is tattling. What does that tell you?
Because he's passive.
Even if he was tattling, even if he didn't know, he wouldn't have done anything about it because he loved them more anyway. So.
No.
Favoritism.
Passive, would that mean that he's afraid or he just don't say anything? He could be afraid.
He could be afraid, doesn't like, yeah. I mean, they're old men, they're big, they're stronger than him. Mm-hmm. He could be afraid of them physically. Could be. Mm-hmm. But it still doesn't make passivity right.
No.
I mean, if you're going to be proactive, if you're a teacher or a dad and somebody tells you a story, you got to check it out. Yeah. It's like, does this story match up? Mm-hmm. No, wait a minute, Joseph. You're saying this, but they're saying that. He doesn't check it out. So he tells a story, and what does he get as a reward for the story?
A coat?
Ornament.
A colorful coat. And this word for colorful coat is only used one other time in the whole Bible. And I hope I have this verse down right. 2 Samuel 3:18. One of David's daughters has this coat.
2 Samuel 3:18. Okay.
And this will give you an idea of the kind of coat that he's wearing. Somebody have that? 2 Samuel 3:18? Ira?
Now do it, for the Lord promised David, but my servant David, I will rescue my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and from all
Is that 2 Samuel 3:18?
Yeah.
Oh man, did I wrong? 2 Samuel 3:18? Did I write the wrong verse down?
Did I read it right? No.
Yeah, that's the real one.
Okay.
Now do it, yeah.
Man, do I have the wrong verse again? Well, I got the wrong verse again. But the verse is supposed to be that that his daughter Tamar was wearing a richly ornamented robe, which was the kind that the virgin daughters of the king wore.
Excuse me.
It's a robe for royalty. That's what he's wearing. And so he gets this robe, and he puts it on, and what's the brother's response to the robe?
Probably want to tear it up or something.
Pardon?
Probably want to tear it up.
Oh, man.
Something.
Yeah. It says they're jealous, right? Now, what in the world is a dad thinking, giving his son a robe? Now, this isn't too fancy, but, you know, think of it being like maybe like a mink coat, you know? It's something you wouldn't work in. It's something for ceremony. And so he's got this expensive thing none of them have. What in the world could his dad be thinking, doing that?
I don't know. In actuality, he's reinforcing his Joseph's behavior. Yeah. Every time he's saying, even if he's lying or not, whatever it is, he just, because he loves him so much, he's giving him things. And so Joseph, like, man, every time I say something, my daddy hooking me up. I might say something else. You know?
Poor Joseph, man, your brothers are picking on you. Here's a coat for you, son. Well, very good. Well, thank you very much. It was great sharing Genesis 37 with you, and I look forward to visiting with you guys again soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This class is available in its entirety along with printed curriculum through our website. Contact us at escapefrompoverty.org or at 337-984-4858.